Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Clueless Capitalist with me Razi and Osman. In this episode, we are going to be discussing PriyoShop. PriyoShop is a startup from Bangladesh, and what they are doing is that they're empowering micro-SMEs using digital platforms to connect with wholesalers, retailers, manufacturers and their customers on a single platform. So it's a combination of commerce, logistics and even working capital. And Osman and I, we just recently invested in this startup, and we believe that this startup has the potential to be the next unicorn from Bangladesh. So in this episode, we're going to be sharing with you PriyoShop. We're going to share with you the pitch deck, what the startup is all about, why we got really excited by the opportunity, and how you can potentially also perhaps be part of this journey as well. So PriyoShop, what they do is that they are empowering a retailer supply chain by bridging the technology gap. And that sounds a bit complicated, and I'm going to be explaining more in the subsequent slides.
And it's just really important to understand this is a startup in Bangladesh. When we think of digitalization and empowerment of retailers, from having not lived in Bangladesh and not being in Bangladesh, we don't understand that particular problem statement, right? We're kind of okay with ordering our stuff from NTUC, Fair Price, or from any of the retailers that we have. But micro-SMEs are a real significant contributor to the Bangladesh economy, and they're often struggling to keep up with the market demands of their consumer base. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail.
If you look at the slide, you can see this an example of one of these micro SMEs that PriyoShop has impacted. So what PriyoShop is doing is that they're helping these micro SMEs use technology and connect with wholesalers, and to connect with their customers all in a single marketplace. And it provides not just the marketplace, not just the ability to connect with wholesalers and retailers, but it also provides the logistics and working capital. So what does all of that mean, right? An easy way to understand this is, imagine if you're a micro SME in a village in Bangladesh, right? And you have an inventory of items that you sell to your customers. You're probably managing this entire inventory using pen and paper. And sometimes you might not know when you have run out of certain products. And if you run out of a product, because you're a micro SME, Unilever or P&G, none of these big guys are going to come and restock your store. So what you have to do is you have to close, and then you have to go and travel to the nearest town and go and buy the stock that you're out of, and you come back and then you restock your store. But the challenge is when you close your shop and you go off to that town, for the next 2 to 3 days that you're away, your customers are not going to be able to buy from you, and that's going to impact your revenue. And the other challenge is when you go to the town to buy your goods, you're buying it from a retailer. You're probably not buying it directly from a wholesaler and things like that. So your margin is going to be impacted. But with PriyoShop, what it's doing is with PriyoShop, you can now manage your inventory. You can order things using the PriyoShop app, and PriyoShop will then deliver the items to you. And that is going to save you. You don't need to close your shop for 3 days. You're going to be able to get better rates. You're going to get better prices. And since they also provide buy now, pay later services, you can actually buy your goods and restock without having to fork out the capital that is required. So there are a lot of benefits to what PriyoShop does. And I think one thing that I found really inspiring was the founder, Asikul, had actually been to Singapore. And one thing that he found interesting was how there were 7-Elevens everywhere. And he thought it's an interesting concept because when you go to a 7-Eleven, you are assured of the same prices, you're assured of quality of product, and you're assured of quality of service. And it is a brand that people identify and they recognize. And with PriyoShop, as you can see on the slide, it is also aiming to create this recognizable brand with this pink color and with what it's standing for. They want consumers in Bangladesh to know PriyoShop, to recognize PriyoShop, and for it to be something like a 7-Eleven across Bangladesh.
So I think in terms of the problems faced by those retailers, as Razi mentioned, right, despite there being a big shift in modern trade and using the internet, these local shops are still being left behind. It's called, we call it the digital divide, the haves and the have-nots. Why is it that a supermarket can create an online facility for you to buy. But if you're going to do that, then your local shop, your cornerstone of your community, is missing out, right? So for that very reason, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't go to my local store because they don't have the stuff that I need in there, and they're not online, so I can't just order from them and just go and pick it up, right? So they're all the things which eventually create the demise of your local high street. It's a real problem. And this isn't just a problem in Bangladesh. If you look globally, like even Thailand, if you look at Thailand here in Southeast Asia, when Tesco were creating supermarkets in Thailand, there was a big uproar from local retailers who were losing out, and they were actively protesting against Tesco for coming in and completely ruining the rice bowl for these smaller retailers. And it's true, it's very difficult for these smaller retailers to compete in such a manner. The problems are inefficient sourcing. They're not easy to. It's not easy to know that if I'm going to buy a 1 litre bottle of sunflower oil in this shop, is it going to be cheaper if I buy it from the shop in the next village on? Why am I paying 50 cents more than I should have to? Whereas at least if you have consistency of pricing across the supermarket chain, you know that it's pretty standard. These retailers can't compete, but because they just can't stock the type of goods that they would like to have, because credit's not given to them. I mean, we talked about this with Energy Light. That credit issue is still there, even in the retail space, where people don't want to finance the retailer because they're too high of a credit risk, increasing that digital divide. And again, the lack of technology adaptation as well. They're too fragmented to be able to create a technology solution until now. These are unique problems, not just in Bangladesh, Thailand, even in the UK. If you were to actively look in the UK, why don't you go to your local corner shop? Why don't you go to your high street? And there are problems. Parking's an issue, parking costs, you'll get a parking ticket, so you don't go to your high street anymore because it's a problem. Councils, as much as they want to create a nice area in the town centre, they're making it very inconvenient for people to go sometimes. And therefore people go to the out-of-town supermarkets. But then when they go to the out-of-town supermarkets, you've still got your corner shop, but you know what, I'll just drive and I'm there anyway. I'll buy all the stuff that I would normally have bought at my corner shop. And the corner shop could say, well, hey, you can order directly from me and I'll bring it to your house if you need to. You're literally around the corner, or just walk over and pick it up and have instant gratification that way. But technology adaptation is a problem across multiple geographies. It's not just a Bangladesh problem. It's just interesting how PriyoShop are addressing this for Bangladesh though. So when you look at how PriyoShop are addressing this, they've got the 3 streams: commerce, logistics, and the buy now, pay later, the credit line for the small retailers. They're the key components that they're doing to address this fragmented micro-SME space, and they're trying to standardize the technology across all of them, allowing them all to buy in and being able to compete on par with those bigger players now. So with regards to the value added in retail industry, the other key issues that you see in this kind of micro-SME space is that brands, like the Procter & Gamble's, Unilever's, they have if you use hair shampoo as an example, I want Pantene V, shampoo. My micro SME might not have access to it, but the brands themselves don't know how to get their brands into all of these little micro merchants that are out there, because it's very difficult to efficiently get out there. PriyoShop's giving them a technology app that will allow those brands to actually reach out to those micro merchants. So the merchant sourcing is a lot easier through going through PriyoShop's app rather than having to individually go to each and every micro merchant, or build out a sales team that can go to different regions. It's a very costly activity to source those merchants. So the digital sales and the marketing and promotion becomes very simple for those brands because they can reach all those different merchants through one app, through the PriyoShop app. Distribution as well. This is the problem with supply chain financing. I'm a distributor, I've got these products in stock, but all these micro merchants are locked out because I don't have the ability to provide financing for them. And therefore I'm not going to stock a lot of these goods because they're not going to be in the position to buy them. And therefore that's a problem. And then there are other things as well, like if you're doing things like white goods, how do you do last mile delivery to like that little village in the middle of nowhere, right? So all of those things are a problem for distributors, and PriyoShop's addressing that by doing that whole buy now, pay later, but also financing the supply chain, making sure that those micro merchants have access to credit. And the micro merchants themselves, in terms of having a brand, that they can subscribe to show, hey, look, we're part of a larger entity here, we're leveraging economies of scale, and therefore the price that you see is going to be the price that you'll see in the next store over or the next village over. I've got a digital catalogue of things which I may not have here in store, but if you want them, I'll get them. And I don't need to shut my shop for a half a day to go and get them for you. I can show you them and you can pick them and you can get them delivered to the shop. I've got the credit facilities now with a digital payment option as well for the consumer, and the marketing and promotion. Being able to leverage off marketing and promotion through PriyoShop, through the brands that we talk about on the left, through to the micro merchants, being pushed out to the micro merchants themselves. And then obviously the last mile delivery, PriyoShop are able to do that to help simplify the delivery of the goods to the consumer and simplified delivery to the micro merchant. Like you want, 20 bottles of something, PriyoShop can make sure that you don't need to close your shop and go there and pick it up and bring it back. You can just wait for PriyoShop to deliver it to you. So it's really, really clear how PriyoShop are adding value to every segment of that retail chain. So in terms of the traditional way and how things are changed, you can really see what's happening here, and there is a number of really key value adds here. The multiple brands going out to multiple distributors and being delivered directly from those manufacturers, and they're all being delivered in a really haphazard way out to those local stores, right? So it can, in another sense, what you're seeing is real inefficiencies here, and we're not just talking about inefficiencies of just like everybody's got layers of cost to deliver something to all these micro SMEs, but just the carbon footprint for this is insane, right? When you're talking about multiple trucks being used to deliver to the same store, when you could consolidate all of that and reduce that, it's that type of efficiency which helps nations to meet their green targets that they've set for themselves, is by enabling companies like PriyoShop to do that. So now what you've got on the right hand side is all the brands, they're using the PriyoShop app, the single app that the retailer can use with a single truck that delivers out to that store. So you're consolidating at a number of levels. That reduces cost, that improves margin, and that improves the value add for every element of that retail chain. So as you can see, the business model really is the brands working with the distributors through PriyoShop, and PriyoShop have their own in-house and third-party logistics firms to coordinate that delivery, and the micro merchants, the retailers, are the ones that are happy because they've now got access to goods and services that they never had access to before, not at the scale that we're looking at here.
So one thing we need to understand is something called GMV. So GMV essentially stands for gross merchandise volume. And it's a term that is used in the online retail space, where we're looking to indicate the total sales of merchandise that is sold through a marketplace over a particular period of time. So if you look at PriyoShop's GMV growth, it is strong, it's consistent, and I think it is really exciting. So if you look in July 2021, they were doing about 259,000 of GMV. And if you look just 4 months later, they're doing 1.14 million in the month of November. So there's a 337% growth in the GMV. And this, to us as angel investors, is a sign that PriyoShop has good traction and that the business is growing, and that it's also an indicator that their concept and what they're working to build is actually working and they're gaining traction in the market. And if you look at the revenue contributors, so like what Osman has been explaining, they have so there are two contributors to revenue here. Mainly, the B2B app, where the micro SME can order via the PriyoShop app. And of course, there's a B2C component where I, as a customer, can actually order on the PriyoShop app as well. So it's B2B and B2C, and where we find there's a lot of huge opportunity for growth, and it's really exciting for us as investors is actually the B2B part of things. And we're going to explain that a bit more in the following slides.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to note that the proportion is also interesting, the B2B and the B2C. They're enabling different aspects of the retail experience. We talk about this as quite interesting for Bangladesh, but I think this is also interesting for other countries, even those that claim to be more developed, that you're able to enable the B2B experience for the corner shop type of retailer and the end consumer. I think that's the real problem that hasn't been addressed, in a large number of countries, not just Bangladesh. So when we look at why now with PriyoShop specifically, you've got some key demographics that you need to take note of. The population in Bangladesh is pretty young. 66% of them is still considered to be youth. Out of 170 million population, that's a significant chunk of people that have got the predisposition to use digital apps as their primary source of engagement. Right, so that's the reason why we think this is the right time to be doing it. Internet penetration in Bangladesh as well is pretty high. So 110 million internet users in Bangladesh. The economy is going through the roof. I think if you just do a quick Google search to look at the GDP of Bangladesh, it's actually quite impressive. You think of Bangladesh as, and we've mentioned this before, as a bit of a basket case country. It's no longer that. It's moved on a lot, and their economy is pretty strong. It's growing consistently, and it's growing in a way that is, when you see that type of GDP, you realize that there's a lot more going on there, right, in terms of the disposable income of people, how many people are being elevated out of poverty, how many people are being moved into the middle income bracket. All of these things are a reflection on why that GDP is growing up. But yeah, 97% of retail is in the retailer's hands, meaning that, the retailer's still handling goods. It's not all internet based, and therefore a digital solution will address those kind of demographics. And we know it's an untapped market just because we know that these types of solutions don't exist, but there's a market of people that really would take up adoption without an issue.
Yeah, and if we look at the market opportunity, as what Osman mentioned, it's a large addressable untapped market. And there are 4.5 million of these micro SMEs, micro merchants. And if you look at the annual turnover, it's 18.4 billion, which is really significant, because if you look at the size of the economy that's going to be projected by 2025 of $500 billion, there's quite a significant chunk of it. And beyond just, so I think for PriyoShop, they currently have 2,400 of these micro merchants onboarded. And if you think about the fact that the market size is 4.5 million micro merchants, so the amount of new merchant acquisition that can happen over the next few months and the next few years is going to be quite significant. And beyond the PriyoShop model, as we have spoken about, beyond that, there is also the entire credit market. And we see the credit market is 778 million and 676,000 micro merchants took loans, I think in a study that was done in 2018. So what this signals to us is that PriyoShop's model of also having a buy now, pay later facility, I think that is going to be also a significant source of growth for PriyoShop in the coming years.
So with regards to the micro merchant profile, this is really interesting as well, because we talked earlier on about the internet penetration, it's really high, but in the micro merchant space, it's actually pretty interesting. 98% of them own a mobile phone, but only 30% of them actually own a smartphone, right? So even though you've got internet penetration, it's not evenly distributed. So these micro merchants, they're connected, but they're not connected in the way we would expect. And so PriyoShop are addressing that. There are a number of issues that need to be resolved, but like if you can imagine, over time that micro merchant profile will change. But the PriyoShop guys are actually working to address this particular problem where you've got internet penetration of consumers, but the micro merchants themselves, the retailers, don't have that same level of penetration. So how do you match and balance that, right, between the consumers who've got propensity to use their smartphone app and a micro merchant who says, what's a smartphone, right? Why do I need one? The need isn't seen and it's not perceived. So these guys are actually working on addressing that. But it also presents a good opportunity because smartphones are becoming cheaper. They are becoming the standard device moving forward. So that ownership of mobile phones is going to go down, but the ownership of smartphones is going to go up. So by default, that's going to happen, right? But it also indicates that it's a good time to get in because that is driving growth as well. You know, the micro merchant profile we know is changing, right? So it's an interesting position to be in.
So to add on to the micro merchant profile, the buy now pay later opportunities is significant as well. So if you look at this same study from the UN that was done in 2018, in Bangladesh, the average monthly sales per merchant is $3,195 US dollars, and 73% of these is done on credit regularly, right? And the micro merchants, you can see 64.8% of them procure on credit. They actually sell on credit as well, and most 22.3% of them record daily transactions. So when we look at the average monthly sales, if we look at the procurement being done and the sale being done on credit, it just signals to us that the market is ready for a buy now pay later offering, and with PriyoShop offering that as part of their suite of services, I think that's again a significant opportunity for angel investors to come in early and be able to ride this wave of not just digitizing SMEs, but also in terms of leveraging on the BNPL opportunity that Bangladesh presents. So like what we've been emphasizing in all of our previous videos, we always look at the management team. Are these individuals that we can talk to? Is the founder someone that we can talk to that is readily available to answer our questions? And does he have experience in the space? And if you look at the management team of PriyoShop, they have a very experienced team. And if you look at the founder, Asikul, he's been in the space for quite a number of years now. He has technology experience and he also has significant e-commerce experience, which puts him in the right place to actually drive PriyoShop forward and to lead PriyoShop.
If I was to look at the top management team, one, we've spoken to Asikul, both you and me, Rasi, we've spoken to him, and we both feel that he's very straightforward, very approachable. He's very clear about what he wants to achieve, which gives us a lot of comfort in his goals and his ability to achieve those goals. But if you look across the co-founder team as well and the top management team, their experience as well balances each one out. There's MBA trained individuals, and MBAs aren't really the thing that really sells itself here, but the fact that they've got entrepreneurship experience, that they've been and done and they've failed in the past, tells me that they're willing to really give everything because they know what the size of a prize is and they know that this is going to be significantly successful for them. So they're driven to achieve success, right? Then you look at the experience of people like Rommel and, in terms of the expertise in business development and in operational process and efficiency and operations experience. He's an experienced guy, right? And he's going to be able to complement the capabilities of Asikul and Dipti. And then you've got the CTO who's very technical, which you have to be, right? You can't be a CTO if you don't have expertise in the type of things that these guys are doing, which is software development, platform development. This guy's got many years of experience in software development, the platform creation, and it's all in e-commerce. So for me, all of that combines itself and tells me that they've got a very strong founding team. They've got a very strong top layer of management that understand how to drive a business and develop it, but also how to operate it. And so for me, it gives me a lot of comfort. And Asikul is a very easy person to talk to. If you don't understand something, you can keep on asking him. He doesn't get frustrated that quickly by repeating his answers to you. So they're really good. And then when you look at the competition, the competitive landscape, and for me, this is good. There is competition, right? How many times have we said, so-and-so's competing with this, they're never going to make it. The idea is that if there is competition and there are people doing something similar, it tells you that there is a demand for this product and service. The key difference here and what I like is that they've chosen an asset-light approach to doing this, so they don't have to go and build out a warehouse with $50 billion worth of stock. They act as an enabler, so they're effectively bringing everybody into the ecosystem and enabling them to be successful, right? And if they're successful, then PriyoShop's successful, everyone wins. And I like that type of business model. It can't be a win-lose kind of scenario, which some businessmen seem to have it in their mind. I gain all the margin, you get nothing out of it. For me, it doesn't work, right? If there's a win-win scenario, then for me, that's a good thing. It shows me that it's a sustainable business model. They're doing things on consignment basis, meaning they'll take an order, they'll then go and submit that, and they'll fulfill against it. They're not just like predicting what they need and then buying it and holding it in stock or anything like that. And they've created a marketplace for both the B2B and the B2C, like for the retailer to sell to the consumer and for the retailer to buy from PriyoShop or through PriyoShop. So it's very good in terms of what they're doing. It's very good in terms of how they're trying to execute, and they've found that niche that others are overlooking, and they're going to go hard and fast into that, right? And then, when we talk about this as being a potential unicorn, right? I mean, we talked about Bangladesh, shop hubs, Zindabad, etc. But this isn't something unique. Like we mentioned, it's not a unique problem. Bangladesh we talk about because it's an untapped market. Foreign investment isn't there, so it gives us as angel investors an opportunity to come in and enable that investment, right? And give liquidity to companies like PriyoShop. But in terms of, is this a unique problem that we've never heard of before, and is it a business model that's never been executed before? Absolutely not. Indonesia, Vietnam, Pakistan and India all have their own unique unicorns that are doing this type of thing already, right? Indonesia's got a population of 250 million. Vietnam, significant population. Pakistan is around 200 million. Bazaar and Tajir are doing something similar. India, everyone talks about India and Indonesia as the growth of unicorns, and you can still achieve unicorn status in places like Bangladesh and Pakistan, but if you execute correctly.
I mean, just to add to that, I was just checking up on Udaan. Udaan from India, Valuation is currently at $3 billion, $3 billion US dollars. I mean, of course, India is a market of a bit 1.1 billion population, so 3 billion. It's still a significant size for this kind of a similar concept that PriyoShop is trying to bring to life in Bangladesh. And I was looking at Pakistan's Bazaar. Bazaar is one of the most well-funded or the best funded startup in Pakistan at this point of time. So looking at all of these examples from India, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Vietnam, clearly PriyoShop is onto something, and I'm confident that they are definitely going to be doing really well and inching towards that unicorn status just by looking at the fact that this model has been done and executed in places like in all the similar markets. And I think there's a lot of scope for Bangladesh as well. So I'm excited for this particular opportunity.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we don't really want to delve too much into the investment perspective because the investment requirements do change. When we were speaking to them originally, I think it was 600,000 that they were looking to raise. So if you are interested in talking to PriyoShop as part of their investment round, they are doing a pre-series A, and you can reach out to Asical and see if you're interested in investing. They are looking to use that money to expand and improve what they're doing, and that will kick off like an even bigger spurt of growth to capture the market in Bangladesh. But yeah, these things do change over time. We're using an old deck, and we will get Asical in here as well to kind of talk through the founder story as well, and talk through what they're currently fundraising for. But we know that they are looking for a cash injection to kind of really push forward with that next round to achieve that unicorn status. So that activity as well in terms of growth, they've got the free apps, the micro merchant app, the PriyoShop app, and the PriyoShop retail app. They're looking at the near-term initiatives, which are credit scoring, inventory management, and digital ads for 2022. But they're going to once they've done the credit scoring, they then can enable the buy now pay later. Right, that's the biggest hindrance to everything at the moment, isn't it? Is I can loan you money, but I need to be able to be comfortable that you can pay it back and that you've got the ability to pay it back. Because the last thing we want to be enablers of is people getting stuck in a credit cycle which they can't break out of. It's got to be done responsibly, and you only want to lend money to those who are financially responsible, know why they're doing it to grow their business, and that they could break that cycle if they wanted to. And then you've got their ambition. Where do they want to get? On-demand delivery, helping the micro-SME community to generate customers actively. They would like to do international expansion and do the payment apps similar to what we see here in Singapore, like FavePay and the like that, and GrabPay. And then the SaaS-based APIs for online sales from retailers. So being able to automate that whole procurement, fulfillment activity through deep level API integration is something that they're looking to do, as well as a long-term initiative. Now, who knows how quickly that product roadmap would execute once they close their funding round, but all that means is that everything is upside here. If they can compress this expansion plan and execute quickly on it, it just means that they get to their ambition of being a unicorn very quickly.
Being in the digital marketing space, right, digi ads or digital ad inventory is quite exciting. I just wanted to ask you really quickly, how big do you think is Alibaba? How much money do you think Alibaba is making just selling ad inventory across all of its e-commerce properties?
I don't even want to hazard a guess. I know that'll be wildly wrong.
It's $23.5 billion from just selling ad inventory across all of its e-commerce sites. And one thing that I've been seeing in the digital marketing space is we're seeing a lot of brands looking to actually buy ad inventory within e-commerce sites. So if you look at Amazon, right? Amazon made almost $18 billion in 2020 just from selling ad space on its website, and is growing faster than Facebook, is growing faster than Google in terms of what is selling for ad inventory. So I find the fact that in PriyoShop's near-term initiatives, the fact that they have Digi ads, I think that can be a really amazing way to unlock further and additional revenue. And looking at what's happening with Alibaba, with Amazon and other e-commerce players selling the ad inventory of the e-commerce stores, I think this could be a really big potential from PriyoShop if they execute it well. And the fact that they have not really accounted for what these Digi ads are going to entail, again, I think they're really exciting, and I think it's really exciting as an angel investor, and could be something that could even lead to more upside for angel investors. Beyond what we've already discussed, I think the Digi ad opportunity is something that at least excites me a lot, because I'm in the digital marketing and the advertising space. So I feel that this is a big opportunity as well.
Yeah, and for people that don't really understand digital Digi ads, I mean, rather you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a digital marketing expert, but for example, I'm on their app and I want to buy, let's say, I don't know, tomato sauce, right? Like tomato ketchup, right? If there was a Digi ad there, if I do ketchup as a search engine through the app, if I'm Heinz, I can promote my product to say, hey, consider Heinz tomato ketchup over, let's say, I don't know, whichever other brand might be popular in that. So that's what Digi ads is. It's really saying you might be searching for a generic product, but based on the adverts here, I'm gonna put my brand in front to entice the consumer to consider my brand over another, right? So that's how I understand Digi ads to be. Is that right, Razi, or did I get that wrong?
You got it spot on. I mean, that's just one aspect of Digi ads. Beyond that particular aspect where your products get featured whenever someone searches for a particular category or for a particular type of product. Another thing would be like just banner ads, right? Within the product page, you have a banner on the right, maybe a banner in the middle. It could be a pop-up, it could be a video, it could be just a text ad. There's so many different opportunities within Digi ads, and what you've shared is just one example of what's possible.
Wow. It's amazing. So no wonder it's so valuable, especially if your brand recognition rides on this as well, right? If you're looking to create that whole brand recognition, keep your brand at top of mind, this is the way to do it. Yeah, especially for people who have a propensity to buy your product. There's one thing to be advertising a product, but if you're advertising in all the wrong places, it's just not a good way to spend your money. But if you're advertising that product in a platform where people are looking to buy already, the conversion of a marketing dollar is very, very high. You know, like I spend $1 here. If I get one click, that's great. But if I get one conversion to sale, that's an amazing return on investment for a Digi ad as well. So I think it's like making sure that your advertising dollar spend is going to places where people are already in the mindset of buying or are interested in product purchase. So there's a propensity for people to buy. And I think this is where you focus on the right platform to advertise your product and service. Okay. And then obviously in terms of the investors, this kind of gives you an idea of who's currently invested and gives you some idea of the maturity of the business idea as well. So Accelerating Asia, their venture fund has invested. Bansia and SBK Tech Ventures are already in there. SBK Tech really and Bansia really understand the Bangladesh market. You know, they are very specific around that. So if I'm saying that I don't understand the Bangladesh market and therefore I'm out, well, actually rethink it, because if these guys are invested and they understand their own domestic market really well, then who am I to question that type of thing? They put their money where their mouth is. So even if I don't understand the Bangladesh market, I look at others who do, and if they feel that PriyoShop is something that's likely to deliver a significant return on their investment, it's a great train to be on, right? So Sonia is well known within the Bangladesh space. She understands the market, and she's invested James Ang, who's a board advisor. I mean, he's coming from a very good tech background, and he's able to provide that kind of level of outside-in feedback to the board. For me, that gives me good comfort that these people know what they're doing, that they've got a good advisory team as well in place. Okay, and where else have we seen these guys? I mean, we keep on coming across them everywhere we go. Impact Collective, they were there on cohort 2. We saw them there. And Tech in Asia, they were mentioned there as well. So they're the ones which I'm personally familiar with, but they're being recognized consistently across a number of different key platforms. So yeah, they're really good in terms of what they're doing, and they're being recognized for that. And they themselves feel that they're going to be the next unicorn in Asia, and I firmly believe that as well. I think they have the capability to execute. They're working in a space that's substantial. Achieving unicorn status is very easy for these guys to do. I think their domestic market can sustain 3 or 4 perhaps unicorns in this particular segment that they're operating in. So it doesn't have to be a winner take all. It can be a healthy ecosystem of competition. And I think these guys have got the ability to achieve significant returns on an investment for an angel investor, but at the same time create significant improvements to the lifestyle of Bangladesh's country.
I think it's definitely an exciting startup. So if I look at, this is just the early start of the year, right? And I look at startups that have really gotten me to sit up and notice. I think one of PriyoShop is definitely one of them, and as I've mentioned a number of times in this particular episode, I'm really excited for this opportunity. I am looking forward to where PriyoShop goes, and looking at their roadmap and looking at what kind of traction they already have. I think this is an excellent opportunity. And in the next episode, we're going to be having Asikul, who is the founder and the CEO of PriyoShop, join us. He's going to share with us the founding story, how it all got started. He's going to share with us his vision, and of course, for all of us who are interested, he's also going to be sharing their funding, how they're going to use the fund, and how you can be part of PriyoShop's journey to build the next unicorn. So do look out for that episode as well.
All right, well, thank you very much for listening to us and talking through that, and let's get Asikul in on the next call and have his input into giving us an update on where he is, what they're doing, and how well they're executing against this project.